Hello, welcome back to Shared Spaces with Quida, Chap, and Dayson. Um, Tonight we have the astute Mr. Glover. How you doing this evening?
Good evening, sir. How are you?
All is well. So I guess if we want to start off, I guess we'll start off with some announcements. We've been doing a couple cleanups over in at Pinder Hughes Shelter, cleaning up the playground. We've been out there about once a week, and Saturday we're doing a big cleanup. So anyone watching who wants to join us, please join us Saturday the 21st at 8 a.m. We'll have tools and snacks and good fellowship, and make a safe space for people in the community. Um, this weekend, I don't know, Quita, if you want to make some announcements for this weekend, what happened? We had a lot going on in the
So
community.
much happened this weekend, Chap. Oh my goodness. So Friday was the Power Fest Empowering Queen ceremony. That was awesome. And then Saturday, we always do the food distribution, the produce boxes at 2555 Harford Road at 10:30. And then I went over to Cecil Kirk, and there was a Hug, Don't Shoot community outreach event going on. You can see some of that on the Baltimore Homes Instagram page. And after that, I went to Braid Her, which is Natasha Brown. She's a teacher in Baltimore City. She had a workshop for girls that also incorporated STEM and STEAM with deveneering. So this weekend was super, super busy, lots going on. And just real quick, I'm Quida Chancey from Baltimore Homes, and we build micro shelters and tiny homes for people who are unhoused. And, we're always popping up at community events. Hey, Lou.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
All right. How are you?
I'm doing well.
We were just talking about the Empowering Queens.
The Empowering Queens was amazing. It was amazing. And thank you so much for coming out and interviewing the girls. It was an amazing evening, amazing gala.
It was a good time. It was a good time. Hey, Dayson. We were just talking about, he looks like he might be frozen. We were talking about what was going on at Cecil Kirk. Chap, was there anything else that you had? I think you went to something different after the produce distro, right? What were you up to? You're on mute. Nope, you're on mute.
I just delivered some food to some families throughout the city that couldn't make it to any of the events. Nothing special. Yeah.
Nothing special. People need to eat. That's special.
I mean, it was special. We sat on the porch over on 904 East 41st for about 2 hours, wrapped with the neighborhood. Had a good time, but not necessarily a specific community event. So, yeah.
Right, doing what you do throughout the community. That was my first time to your rec center, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. We got some stuff going on tonight. There's a free fencing class for kids between 10 and 13. Tomorrow we have a free DJ class for students under 17, as well as, let me see, we got the fencing, DJ class. There's something else. I got to remember what it is and post it. But we're trying to get some programs going on because the community has been abandoned by the Parks and Recs agency in general. We haven't had people in the recs for a couple of years, well, over a year for sure because of COVID, and it's hard getting started, getting people back in here, and it's hard to finesse all the new rules and policies to get people in here to do stuff. So we're navigating that and trying to get things going.
That seems to be a common thread at a lot of the rec centers. Would you say the same thing for yours, Dayson? Do you think Cecil Kirk kind of went down and now needs to kind of pick back up?
Yeah, what's up, everybody? I kind of do. we have like great momentum right now. We just started our teen camp today, and we actually had more people show up than we thought was going to show up. And so now we're actually able to serve our teenagers, which is something that isn't as common in Baltimore City as it should be.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, Donnie, earlier we mentioned that we were out by your way in West Baltimore. What was the address that we need to give to people to come to at 8 o'clock?
1200 North Fremont, William Pender Hughes, the former William Pender Hughes Elementary School.
Right, because if you Google it, it'll take you somewhere else. So make sure you go to this one. You said it was what again?
1200 North Fremont, Fremont and Winchester.
Fremont and Winchester. Perfect.
I also wanted to add in that Cecil Kirk just lost the longtime basketball coach and program director, Anthony Duty Lewis. So a shout out in heaven to Anthony Duty Lewis, youth basketball coach and program director at Cecil Kirk Rec. That was the first rec I ever went to in the city of Baltimore.
Is that right?
How about that?
So I had a question, Donnie, regarding the property we've been cleaning up. I've had a hard time trying to figure out who's in charge of it. Parks and Recs is not, city schools is not. It's on the surplus list, and I don't know can we talk about who's trying to get the property over there? The Salvation Army, are they looking at that property and what their plans are?
Yeah, they're looking to bring some youth programs, some, to my understanding, things that the community needs. A type of empowerment center is my understanding.
So how do we help them?
Well, first they have to
Is there
secure
anything we
the
can do
building.
as a community to?
Well, I would figure letters. I would also think meeting with the people from Salvation Army. We're going to have our next Sandtown community meeting on September the 18th. And it's my intention to invite Major Roger Glick from the Salvation Army to that meeting to share with the community some of his hopes for the facility. One thing I have consistently heard from him is how he wants to create or help create an endowment, maybe of 20, 30 million, where the building would be self-sustaining and we wouldn't have to worry about funding. A lot of times in the city of Baltimore, it's about funding. It's about funding streams. It's about that money going where it's supposed to go. And as you probably know, quite often the money does not go where it ought to go.
Thank you. On mute.
Chap, you're on mute again.
I am sorry. For the community meeting, do you know what time and what location?
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock on the 18th. We haven't finalized the location. We have been having meetings at Ames Memorial United Methodist Church on the corner of Curry and Baker. So we'll be either there or over at the Druid Heights Community Center. We're still working out the details for the next meeting. But certainly people can check out the Sandtown page right here on Facebook, and we'll have the details up within by the end of the week, let's say.
Okay, sounds good. Man, I hope they get that spot, man. There's a lot of vacant lots that the city has on surplus that they're not taking care of because they're waiting to dispose of them. And our spot over there we've been cleaning up is only like one of many spots.
Well, see that there was a time when that field fell under the school system, and then it fell under homeless services, and so it's been a big challenge, particularly as a resident. I walk my dog over there. It's been a complete challenge keeping the grass cut, the weeds, as you saw when you came over there. I mean, Nobody should have to live like this. We shouldn't have to have a playground with, where we find 9 hypodermic needles. And you can't blame the mayor for the hypodermic needles. You got to blame the people that put the hypodermic needles there. That's my thought. See, there's a need for accountability on all levels. The politicians, as well as the people in the community. Everybody plays a role in this. Everybody wants to point the finger. When you point the finger, you're pointing that way, and you got 3 coming back at you. So we got to do like Quida did, like you did, like Catalina Bird, and I appreciate your efforts. You did not have to come over here to Sandtown. Really, Sandtown people ought to be involved cleaning it up, but I appreciate the unconditional love that you have shown our community, Quida, Dave, and Catalina Bird. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. And there's some little kids that get to swing on the swings that are not broken, at least now, without the fear of a hypodermic needle. That's just savage.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in Baltimore, but I'm glad that we were available to come out and contribute, and we'll be back there this Saturday, bright and early at 8 a.m. So we'll keep doing what we can do. I actually happened to be there when the gentleman from the Salvation Army got there, and they were speaking about quite a few different programs, some intergenerational programs for seniors, to kind of work with children who are elementary and middle school age. They were thinking about bringing tournaments to Baltimore and really kind of making, like Donnie said, a self-sustaining system and not something that, is the typical nonprofit relying on grants and or donations, but to build that nest egg early on, because there's a lot of land there. So there'll be, quite a few things that we need to touch on as we clean up. But as far as future development, green space is great, but the ideas that they have for the school and expanding the gym is really good for the community as well.
It would be.
Yeah.
What we did not ask for was a homeless shelter. We did not ask for that school to be turned into a homeless shelter, because the truth of the matter is our original community center, located at 1114 North Mount Street, Dayson, you would appreciate this. That's the former Coppin. Before there was Coppin up on North Avenue, it was at 1114 North Mount Street. And under the mayor back in 2007, Sharfstein, the city health commissioner, turned it into a homeless shelter, something that we did not ask for. That was our meeting place. We don't have a meeting place now. We don't have a community center. This is a historic West Baltimore community, 72 square blocks. And because you have politicians that have no love for Sandtown, we get crapped on. Just like when Catherine Pugh made the elementary school that we've been cleaning up a homeless shelter. We didn't ask for that. And quite frankly, go put it in Guilford. What makes you think we want a homeless shelter? We don't want a homeless shelter no more than Guilford. Put it over there in Guilford. So, part of my issue with the city of Baltimore is the black white supremacists. With all due respect, you got black people that are busy pushing other people's agenda as opposed to serving their own people. White people expect you to serve your own people. What's wrong with these people at City Hall? Totally inept. I don't understand it.
Yeah, and I'll share from my perspective, man, because I don't necessarily deal with that in Northeast Baltimore. In fact, I don't. And what I see is that, and following the breadcrumbs, trying to figure out who's responsible to maintain that that property. There was the homeless shelter that moved in that you guys didn't ask for. They got a bunch of complaints, so the city took over. Then the city just shut it down, abandoning all the homeless people they were serving. But the people experiencing homelessness, when you shut down their shelter, they don't necessarily have anywhere to go, right? So what it looks like, for people who don't know, is that there's a bunch of mostly white homeless addicts that are kind of transplanted in Sandtown, but then don't disperse just because their shelter is shut down. And a lot of them still camp out at the shelter. They still, like Donnie said, we cleaned up hypodermic needles, broken glass, feces from the playground because they're living there. There was accumulation of furniture at a camp behind the school, and all of that just creates an unsafe environment. If not for the children, for the entire community. So I think a lot of people really you have to go see it to understand.
Not to mention the fires that have been started when addicts, black and white, go up in these vacants. They get high, they lighten candles. Next thing you know, the fire kicks off. Once it hits the roof, it's ball game. Once the fire hits the roof, it's ball game.
Right. Those fires happen, though, to people who are experiencing homelessness and people who are experiencing housing insecurity that just don't have heat. So they don't have to be getting high in order to be lighting things that shouldn't be lit inside. So that's a really common issue here in Baltimore, that, people are operating in homes that are gas controlled in order to run their heat, but they don't have any heat because they can't pay the gas bill or whatever is going on. But yeah, Donnie, like them setting those fires for whatever reason is a hazard. I know that you've had issues with homes on your row, like in your house, like that is mind blowing.
Yeah, 3 houses next to me in 2017 were on fire thanks to an addict who was also a pyromaniac. There were about 10 fires within a 4 square block area. They found 3 dead bodies that were already dead. But yeah, it's traumatizing. And then you add on top of that if I went 6 blocks to the east to Bolton Hill and I decided to be homeless and hang in the alleys, I'd get my black ass locked up quicker than a Baltimore speed camera.
Quicker than a Baltimore speed camera. I like it. So, I wanted to make a couple points. One of the things is, Donnie, you made a point of, the homeless shelter being set up in your area versus another area. And one of the things that I've seen in Baltimore, it's not stuck with just Baltimore, but it is rare. And that is, Baltimore is run like a whole bunch of separate cities. The more that I get in trying to help, PowerFest Baltimore is all about bringing peace to Baltimore. I did PowerFest Orlando some years ago, and it was pretty simple. It wasn't complex. It was like, okay, we're going to help Orlando, and all Orlando came together. Trying to help Baltimore, it's like you have to get all of these different barrels of Baltimore to come together, which is very complex. And one of the things that I can say is that we are a city of displacement. In other words, I deal with a lot of what's going on with the dirt bike guys out there, the illegal dirt bike riding. And it's almost like if we fix it here, we displace it to another part of town. And then we chase it over to this other part of town and we displace it over to another part of Baltimore. And everybody is saying, hey, if my district is clean, we're good. And so, but in the interim, we don't solve any problems. We're not eradicating the problems. We're just displacing the problems. We have to somehow figure out how to get Baltimore on the same page. I do think that that's something the City Hall can help us with. We got to get Baltimore on the same page. So when we do talk about a homeless shelter, everybody's at the table. Every community is at the table. And we can find out what are the strategically best places to place these homeless shelters, because they do need a place to stay. The other thing is, that's one point. The other point is, when we talked about the fires, and I'm glad, Quida, you mentioned what you said, and Donnie, you mentioned what you said. Both issues are an issue. Fires are an issue no matter how you look at it. But there are a lot of fires happening because of systemic racism that has put us in positions where we had to set the places on fire, not because we did it purposely, but because we're trying to heat our homes. And there are a lot of hardworking folk out there that are in bad situations, not any fault of their own, but based on the systemic racism that's out there that has put them in a place where they have to turn on the gas to keep the place warm, or have to light candles to keep the place warm. But they're hard workers. There are lazy people. There are drug addicts. There are all kinds of things that happen to cause fires. But there's so many that are caused by people who are working, women who are working 3 jobs and they had to leave the children home alone. And it's against the law, but the children knock over a candle and set the place on fire. So it's just tough. To me, I feel like it's such a complex, tough situation. And I know I'm kind of just, I usually say I make a statement when I have a solution, but I don't have a solution. It's tough out here.
Right.
I will say, I know you want to say something, Dayson, and so I will say really quickly, the leading reason for homelessness is the lack of affordable housing. So you don't have a solution, but there are solutions that exist, Lou. Like it's
Yes.
not up to you to solve. Like I'm trying to give people free shelters, and even that has its own red tape. So you know what I mean? Like there are solutions. It's just a matter of what is allowed and what can be done. So go ahead, Dayson. What you want to add?
No, I just wanted to say, like, I wanted to comment on the first part of what Lou was talking about how some families are like,
Uh-oh.
Well, I'll be. Chap, you're on mute.
That means he had something good to say.
The devil
Hope he
didn't
gets
want
back
to
on.
let him get it out. He gonna be back. He'll be right back.
Well, look, while we wait for it,
The
look, I
devil is
wanted to
busy.
share, while you were commenting on the homelessness, I'll share that like there's one camp over here in Dundalk that no longer exists. It's kind of sad, but there was a guy there that ran the camp. He never let more than 4 or 5 people stay in the space. It was away from the houses. It was on the main street on Dundalk Avenue, under the bridge. But he kept it pretty safe. And I went and asked him what he needed sometimes because people always stop by and drop off water and produce and food. He said, really what we need is some trash cans. He said, I just want to keep it clean so people don't, they already don't want us here. I just want to keep it clean so we're not as much of a burden. So it was real easy to go to Home Depot, and the lady at Home Depot on Eastern Avenue donated some trash cans. She's like, that's no problem. Donated the trash cans, but it took me 6 weeks to convince DPW to stop by and dump the trash that they're driving past every week anyway. They drive past that camp 2-3 times a week, but it took like 50 emails in about 6 weeks to navigate the whole system to say, hey, these guys right here, they don't have a residence. I'm not asking you for a city trash can. I'm asking you dump their stuff so they can keep their space clean. And I'll follow up with saying that I traveled to Chicago a couple times last year, and they had the viaducts, and viaducts are well known for the homeless community or people experiencing homelessness in Chicago. But what Chicago provides is this giant tanker full of like 100 gallons of clean water once a week. They refill it or however often they need to. They've got 2 porta pots, and they've got trash cans, city trash cans. So even though it's not a residence, and instead of seeing homeless people, running them off and fencing up their space, they provided them with basic needs. And when I tell you, the camps under the viaducts are cleaner than some people's homes because they're given the basic facilities, and they have a capacity that they don't want to live in those conditions, so they make the best of what they got. But it took the city just acknowledging their humanity and giving them some basic needs. And that really changed the entire perspective and the entire culture of the homeless community in Chicago. And as well, so, I've never been there, so I can't speak personally, but I hear that like in California, it's similar where a little bit of dignity and a little bit of humanity goes a long way instead of always treating people like they're a problem.
Well, that's the irony, Dave, of Baltimore. We have all of these black elected officials. We have all of these blacks in high-paying bureaucratic positions. You would figure in a majority black city with one of the highest percentages of black elected officials, with all kinds of educated black people in this director position and that director position, that we would have mastered serving black people. You would think that. I mean, that's just common sense, right? They do it in DC, but it's not the case. We suffer from this classism where you got black people at the top of the ship that don't talk to black people at the bottom of the ship. Because,
what do you think causes that, Donnie? I mean, what do you think causes that? Because I want to ask you that question.
Willie Lynch. Turn the dark skin against the light skin, the straight head against the kinky head, the AKA against the Delta, the Omega against the Kappa Alpha Psi, the Christian against the Muslim. That old divide and conquer BS. That's what it is. It's some slavery action, Jack.
How we fix it?
Love.
Huh, love it. I love it.
We don't play love music no more, man. They got this rap going, that mumble rap. We ain't got no Marvin Gaye, no Chaka Khan, no Phyllis Hyman. We ain't got no love music like we used to. It's the music, man. Back in my day, if you called a woman a B, a female a B, 3 o'clock, you're gonna be fighting somebody. But now you got sisters calling themselves B's, calling their girlfriend B's. Until that black woman is revered and respected and held up, until she carries forth the mission that she was naturally ordained to do, until that black man start respecting her and that other man start respecting her, it's basic respect, man. We've lost all respect. Yo, Gotti say the little homies don't respect the big homies no more. It ain't
Bro,
no respect.
I should have known you had an answer. I don't even know why I thought you wouldn't.
We selling dope in front of old people and children. We sniffing dope in front of old people and we sniffing dope in public. I watched the lady shoot dope in public. So it's this consent decree too, because this level of policing, where O'Malley had the pendulum all the way to the right, this consent decree took it all the way to the left. Where the consent, where zero tolerance was locking up everybody, now they ain't locking up nobody and letting murderers out. How you let a murderer out? How you let this dude out? He murdered somebody. How you let him out?
Meanwhile, you got people that are still locked up from the 90s for selling something that's legal now. You can buy at the corner store.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me with like the whole marijuana cannabis situation is I understand at that time it was illegal. Like they did break the law. But I feel like the law in so many cases in technology, in new industries, in like business, they just miss the mark every single time. So to your point, Chap, yeah, they broke the law then, but it's legal now. Let them out. Let them out. They already paid their tax and served their time.
America has 5% of the world's population, yet we have 25% of the world's inmates.
Well, jail is a business.
China got 1.3 billion people. We got what, 300, 400 million? Or we got more inmates than China. We got more inmates than China.
Right, but is China's prison a corporate institution? Like, do they make money off of it? Because I feel like China isn't proud of having a lot of inmates and they're going to chop somebody's head, hand, or foot off. I know that sounds crazy, but I know that they're far more strict than we are. You know what I mean? Like, that's old school and not happening, but I don't feel like their lawyers are paid off like ours and their system is as corrupt, but I don't know. I'm not in China. I don't know.
Well, I got to get up out of here, but I wanted to pose a question to your panel. Did you hear Joe Biden's speech about Afghanistan? Joe Biden say we getting up out of Afghanistan, and people are criticizing him, saying the Taliban is taking over. I'm all for it. I think Joe explained it well. Bring our soldiers home. Nobody beats Afghanistan. And I wish they would just come clean. Afghanistan got the poppy seeds. They got that heroin. They got that heroin. Just like Vietnam had that heroin and that cocaine. And they went up into Iraq for the oil. You know, we keep talking this democratic thing. For real, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We was up in there doing a dope stick-up move.
Right, because they love to make it seem like it's about somebody's freedom and liberation, and that ain't it.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think our soldiers we've been over there 20 years. You're not going to beat Afghanistan. I've been to the Middle East. Those people live in caves because that's where it's cool. They got underground passages. Hey, Lewis, I was in Jordan in the Wadi Rum Desert trying to climb a sand dune. I was down on all fours trying to get up the sand dune. A Jordanian in flip-flops was about 50 yards behind me. He ran past me like Jesse Owens and up that sand dune. And I said to myself, we gonna have problems because we got what, the 75-pound backpacks. It ain't that kind of spot, dude. You over there fighting them people on their turf, you gonna lose every time. And they don't care. And so we done lost enough soldiers over the heroin trade. Try something different. And my thing is, just like Joe said, if they clap back, if they try some terrorist move, drop the bomb on that ass.
All I have to say is, the thing about the Army is, it's usually poor, lower class people who are fighting. So I'm all for not sending more people over there. But Lord, have you seen what the airports look like and how people are trying to escape? And
that dumbass shouldn't have never been there. That's Afghanistan. You can't help them people. They don't want your help. They don't want your help. They want you gone. Their own people rolled out. I'm gonna stay there in your house and fight for you, and you to left. Not me. Bye bye, boo boo.
Look, I got a soundbite based on what you just said, brother. I got a soundbite. Y'all might have to patent this one. Remember the movie Lean on Me? They said they used to call me Crazy Joe. Now you can call me Batman. Well, we're gonna do this for Joe Biden. They used to call me Crazy Joe. Now you call me Bomb Man.
I'm glad he made a decision and he stood by it. There's always going to be critics. If as we're organizing in Santan, there's always a critic. There's always somebody come running their mouth, ain't never did nothing but run their mouth. We need people of action. And I commend the president, right or wrong, pull them soldiers, let them soldiers come home, man. You can't beat them people up in there. We've been there 20 years. It's longer than Vietnam.
And I feel like it's been longer than 20 years. Like, I remember New Kids on the Block when I was a child talking about peace in the Middle East. That was like the early 90s. Like,
I was just going to say, Donnie's got to go, man. That
goes back to, the Palestinians and the Israelis, 1945, where they took them people's land. And the Palestinians are like the black people of the Middle East. I've been to a Palestinian refugee camp. All they got is rocks. They throwing rocks at tanks. Real talk.
Ain't going
so you talking about, much the same with South America. We can't fix everybody's problem. Charity starts at home. We need a strong America.
We do.
We spent $1 trillion in Afghanistan. We could have spent $1 trillion on our own infrastructure. Take care of home.
That's never going to be budgeted, but okay.
Okay, I got to get back, folks. But thank you for allowing me to join you.
Thank you, Donnie.
Donnie.
Okay. Thank you, Donnie. See how
I'm having technical difficulties. If I blank out, I'll try to get back in. My phone is acting a monkey right now.
Well, one thing I wanted Donnie to try to get Donnie to comment on was that the fact that we trained the Taliban during the Cold War to be a thorn in Russia's side, to slow them down. We armed them. We went over in the 80s and armed them and trained them how to fight. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, and people don't talk about that, but we empowered that group of people.
It's not that interesting that we don't talk about that because it puts them in a bad light, just like all the other things that have been whitewashed about history. The same way the Mexican cartel at some point was giving guns. You know what I'm like? The U.S. be on some old other, okay?
We gotta figure out how to fix this, because even if there's some issues, we talk about our local government here in Baltimore, we talk about the U.S. government. If we don't come up with some solutions and some ways to fix it, or even some ways to convince these city officials or these federal officials to change their narrative, we're all in trouble. So I love these shows, but I would love for us, and I don't know the answers, and I'll admit to that, but I will be beating my brains out to try to figure out how do we convince the officials to change their narrative, because otherwise we're just like a sounding, a clanging, sounding board. It's like nothing's getting done. We got to figure this out. I do agree with everybody, especially Donnie, but we got to figure out how do we change it. That's my thing. That's why I show up on this show on Monday nights. I come on this show Monday nights to figure out how do we change this stuff.
I think we're doing it though. You got the mentorship programs. You got Empowering Queens. We got young men like Dayson and the guys that come out to help, Savage and Fathead and Dougie. Preacher P. I got two guys who just left for college. Both of them. Preacher P's over in North Carolina. at HBCU, and juniors going to HBCU in Virginia. So I think, like Donnie said, the solution is love. And how do we
I love
change?
it.
And how do we change leadership? Is that we groom the leadership in love. That's it.
I love it.
That's what we're doing, right?
Good stuff, Chap. Good stuff.
When we go around town and different stuff, I see the young people helping, and I see the young people in the mentorship programs. And Baltimore's got a lot of them, bro. And it's a beautiful thing. And so we're all, we spend a lot of time talking, and we understand what the problems are, but I think the solution is loving on the people that are going to be leaders in the near future and are leaders now at their age, building a relationship of trust so that when we see something wrong, we can say to them, hey, this needs fixed. And because we have an invested, trusting relationship, they're not going to think twice. They're just going to fix it. I don't have to convince Dayson to go help with this. I don't have to convince Savage to go help Lou do what he's doing. I don't have to convince Charlie and Dougie to go help Val. I don't have to convince, Preacher Peter Jr., hey, Quida needs help tomorrow. There's no convincing. I just point and say, here's where we need it. And they show up. And I think if we just proliferate that, continue to proliferate that with Nicole Mosby Taylor and the Emmy group, and Coach Tagana Duncan with his stand mentorship, and you and Lisa with the Empowering Queens, and Rhonda with the sisters. I forget the name of her group.
Inspiring Sisters.
Yeah, Sisters Inspiring Sisters. All these mentorship programs is how we really make the change. And we just build a relationship of trust, and then we let the young people that we're building relationships with stand on our experience, but we're not telling them what to do, but they're just standing on our shoulders, on our experience, on our resources, and they're able to do exponentially more than if they had started from scratch.
Absolutely. And like you said, Chap, that is going to continue to range from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's kind of, like you said, it's like up to us to continue to do what we've been doing and keep infecting everybody else with our love.
And I'll tell you it works. And people were like, people who don't understand or aren't out here actually doing it, they won't understand this, but they'll understand this example. Because I hear a lot that you can't do everything, you can't change the world. Well, I don't have to do everything because I got a big family, and when we all pitch in, and when I need help, I ask, and when you need help, you ask, and we get things done. But as far as always say, when one person can change the world, they can. Everyone's heard of, in a negative light, everyone's heard of Hitler. He almost took over the world, like recently. Everyone's heard of Martin Luther King. He peacefully and quietly changed the world. So there's just two different extremes of the pendulum we were talking about earlier, of one person who changed the world.
Yeah, and what's interesting though, when I think about it, like in that kind of magnitude and almost like our lifetime kind of thing, there's still Gandhi, Mother Teresa. I feel like there's more people trying to save the world, so to speak, than big, villains like Hitler. So that's an interesting thought.
And look, on that note, I shared with you the numbers before, and I haven't looked them up in a while, but upwards of 32,000 nonprofits just in Maryland.
Right.
And that's 10,000 more than the retailers in Maryland. And the math worked out to like one nonprofit for every 160 people. So there are a lot of people serving the greater good. So why aren't we in better shape?
Yeah, and I really think there's so many reasons, but we are slowly untangling them and undoing them because so much of it is systemic. Like so much of it lies in poverty and classism, and that kind of stuff is systemic. Like taking resources from rec centers that are in the hood, but funding those that are closer to your rolling parks. You know what I mean? Like,
shout out to David McNair because he is doing amazing things at Cecil Kirk Rec.
Oh my God! Yes, David McNair over at Cecil Kirk, and I was there this weekend. They were having some good stuff going on. There's always great stuff going on. You know what I mean? Like, but to your point, it's something that we have to keep doing, and it's going to continue to be infectious. And, you know, it's kind of part of our DNA. And you have kids. I don't have any children myself, but my niece, my
Yes, you
godson,
do.
they all have,
Yes,
you know
you
what I mean?
do.
They all have that heart of service. So as long as we continue to, you know, give that to the folks, and like you said, teach them from our experiences so that they're not starting from ground one or level one. You know, they're up here and not having to go through what we had to go through to learn some of the lessons we've learned.
I agree. Well, we lost all our guests. You got any last thoughts? We can wrap it up early tonight.
What are my last thoughts? 1200 West Fremont,
North Fremont.
North Fremont. Is it somebody's Fremont?
Pender Hughes. Pender Hughes. You can Google Pender Hughes homeless shelter. That is the last title that we held. Yep.
Saturday morning at 8 a.m.
21st at 8 a.m.
Yep, the 21st at 8 a.m. And for those who want food produce boxes, 2555 Harford Road at 10:30 a.m. Start lining up. And what else is going on? I don't know that I have anything else going on or any other announcements.
The following week, we'll talk about it next week, but the 28th at Avenue Market, at the corner of Lawrence and Pensy Ave, we're doing like a mini parade, book bag giveaway celebration in the community, so it'll be tough. Got some marching bands, got some really nice book bags we picked up today. I was impressed. Got it broken down between like high school needs and primary school needs and middle school. Got some other fun stuff to give away. Got a DJ. I know the Arabs will be out there, man, pulling the cart, part of the parade there. So it'll be a lot of fun. Next, not this Saturday, but the 28th from 10 to 2. So,
10 to 2, where's the address? Where?
Avenue, just Google Avenue Market.
The Avenue Market?
In Upton, yep.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that'll be on our side of the world. We're going to be over west. We're going to be over west the next couple of weekends as well. So that's pretty cool. All right, Chappie, I don't have much else. I need to figure out when we're going to start building again. The tool bank is opening back up, but this Delta variant, I don't know if I want to mess with her. They talking about she's as contagious as chicken pox, and I don't want any parts of that. So we're going to see. We're going to see. All right, Chappie, you have a great one.
Yep, have a good night.
Bye, guys.